Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our subject in organizational management. So, as we move forward into Unit 3, and we were now going to focus to, or we were going to focus now on one of the most fundamental functions of management, which is planning. So, in our previous unit, in Unit 1 and Unit 2, we explored what management is, the various roles and skills of managers, and the core functional areas that they oversee. Today in this video, we're taking a closer look at how managers plan to achieve organizational goals. Specifically, we will be exploring goal setting, which is the process of defining what we want to achieve, and decision making, which is how we determine the best ways to reach those goals. Okay, so planning is the foundation of all management functions because without a clear plan, managers wouldn't know what to organize, what to lead, or what to control. So let's dive in and see how setting the right goals and making informed decisions drive an organization's success. And by the end of this session, these are the learning objectives. You should be able to discuss the nature of planning. So, meaning we're going to explore what planning means for organizations and why it is being considered as the foundation of all management functions. Number 2, we're going to examine also the variety of plans managers create, from strategic to operational plans, and it is expected that you should be able to compare and contrast the different types of plans. Number 3, you should also be able to describe planning at different levels in the firm. Whether you are at the top, middle, or operational levels, planning looks different depending on where you are in the organization. Number 4 would be you should be able to apply appropriate planning techniques and tools. So you're going to learn some practical tools and frameworks that managers use to ensure that they have a successful plan. Number 5 is to formulate a decision from several alternatives. So you'll also get hands-on experience with decision making, which is a vital part of the planning process. So whether we like it or not, all of us here have plans, right? And also we were able to do some planning already in our life, because planning is something that we all do. Whether we realize it or not, it's not just something big companies or managers do. Lahat tayo, we all plan in our everyday lives. Maisipin mo, when you decide what to wear, what to eat, how to prepare for an exam, you're planning. Because planning helps us to figure out what needs to be done, what steps to take, and how to reach our goals. In the same way, organizations and managers use planning to set their goals and decide the best way to achieve them. So, we can say that planning is not just important in school or business. It's something that help us in our everyday life. Because what would happen if you don't have a plan? So, bakit ba importante na meron tayong plan? Well, kapag wala tayong plano, it can feel like everything around you is urgent or important. It's very hard to know what to focus on first. And maybe you will be ending up being pulled in all directions because you don't have a clear goal or a path to follow. But when you have a plan, you know exactly what you need to do, when to do it, and why it is important. So basically, it will give you direction and focus. But without it, you will be easy to feel lost or overwhelmed because everything now will seems equally important. So ano ba itong planning na to na sinasabi natin? In fact, it is placed in the slide that planning is the most important function in management because everything else depends on planning. So isipin lang natin na para itong foundation ng mga buildings. Without a strong foundation, the whole building can stand properly. So in the same way, without planning, managers wouldn't know what to organize, how to lead their teams, or what to control. So everything else, yung organizing, yung leading, yung controlling, comes after planning. That's why planning is the starting point of all management activities. So how do we define planning? Generally speaking, planning is about deciding in advance what needs to be done. So parang meron kang roadmap before starting a trip. Just like you wouldn't want to drive somewhere without knowing the route, organizations don't operate without knowing their next steps. So for example, imagine if you're planning for a group project, diba? Hindi ka lang basta-basta magda-jump into it na lang. You decide what task needs to be done, who will do what, and when things need to be finished. And that is exactly what planning is all about. It's about making decisions ahead of time to make sure that everything goes smoothly. Okay? And according to Harold, Cons, and O'Donnell, sinasabi nila that planning is more than just deciding what to do. It's also about figuring out how to do it, when to do it, and who will do it. And this will ensure that everyone knows their role and what steps are going to be taken. So in management, planning helps organizations move from where they are now to where they want to be in the future. So para siyang bridge that will connect your current situation with your future goals. Okay? So looking at the next slide. So, di ba sinabi natin kanina na yung plan is about bridging the gap from where we are to where we want to be. So let's look at this diagram. It shows how the planning process works. We start with the now, which is our current situation. From here, we need to ask, where do we want to go in the future? So this is the big picture, and it is part of our strategic planning where we set our long-term goals. Next, we will now be figuring out how to get there, which involves now creating a detailed business plan. So this is where we decide the specific steps we need to take to reach our goals. Okay? So this image shows us how planning starts with our current position and how it helps us decide our future direction and guides us through the steps to get there. So let's proceed to the definition of planning. Now that we explored planning through the examples and visuals, so here is now the formal definition of planning. So makikita mo yan 1, 2, 3, 4. So planning is the primary function of management. It's like what I mentioned. This means that it comes first in the management process. So it sets the stage for everything else managers do. So it focuses also on the future courses of action. So planning helps us map out where we want to go and how we'll get there. So katulad ng explanation ko kanina na para itong blueprint for the future. Number 3, planning is being used by managers to set objectives and choose the best way to achieve them. So hindi lang siya about deciding what to do, but it's also about looking at different options and picking the best one. And number 4, lastly, planning is also an intellectual process. Diba? Kasi gagamit tayo dito ng logic and critical thinking to decide what needs to be done, when, how, and who will do it. So in summary, if we're going to summarize now the definition, so hindi lang siya about creating a list of tasks. It's also a thoughtful process that will help managers guide their teams, their organization towards achieving the goals and aspirations of a certain company, business, or organization. And in planning, there are 6 important questions that we have to, or that is being answered. So kasi pag sinasabi natin planning, hindi lang sa general idea, no? Planning answers 6 important questions that will guide managers. Number 1, what needs to be accomplished? So ibig sabihin, you are thinking about the goal. Ano ba ang goal natin? Okay, what are we trying to achieve? Yan yung first question na sinasagot dyan. Number 2, when is the deadline? Hindi naman pwede na yung mga plano natin walang deadline. So every plan needs a timeline. So when does this need to be finished? Kailan ba matatapos? Kailan natin ma-achieve? Kailan natin makukuha itong ating mga targets? Itong goal natin? Yan yung second question. Sinasagot yan ng plan. Ng planning. Number 3, when will this be done? So it talks about the location where you're going to perform or do some actions to achieve your goals. So when will the tasks or activities take place? Number 4, who will be responsible? So planning assigns also responsibilities. So you will be answering the question, who is in charge of each part of the plan? Number 5, how will it get done? So ina-highlight nyo rin dito kung ano yung mga specific steps or methods to accomplish various tasks to achieve your goal. Then number 6, ano yung mga or how much time, energy, and resources will be needed. So we will now be considering here the effort, the resources required to achieve your goal. So how much time, energy, materials will we need to achieve the goal? So answering these 6 questions helps ensure that the plan is clear, actionable, and realistic. Alright. Then next, we're going to discuss here the features, nature, or characteristics of planning. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's start with number 1. Planning contributes to objectives. So the first important feature of planning is that planning contributes to objectives. This means that all planning starts with knowing what the goal or objective is. Without an objective, there's no point in making a plan. Let's say, for example, if a company wants to expand into a new market, the objective could be to enter the Southeast Asian market and increase market share by 5% in the next year. Makikita mo dun sa slide. This objective becomes the foundation for all the planning that follows. Without this clear goal, the company wouldn't know what steps to take or how to measure yung kanilang success. Then, after identifying the objective of entering into the Southeast Asian market and increasing market share by 5%, the company can move forward with the planning process. And they could now proceed with the next activities. Let's say, for example, you're going to do some market research, strategy development, resource allocation. You will now be setting timelines kung kailan ba mako-complete yung target na yan, yung mga different activities ninyo. You will also be preparing yung mga contingency plans, backup plans in case of delays or unexpected competition. And then siguro yung last stage dito or step dito after planning is you could track the progress and adjust as needed to stay on the course. So each of these steps will support now the initial objective and ensures that the company stays focused on achieving its goal. So we have to remember that planning always begins with determining the objectives, because this will give us direction and purpose to all future actions. Second feature of planning is the primary function of management. This means that planning is the first step every manager needs to take before doing anything else. No matter what other functions they perform, whether it's organizing, leading, controlling, staffing, none of those can happen without a plan in place. Diba? So, before a manager can organize a team or allocate resources, they need to have a clear plan outlining what the team will do, what resources are needed. Because without planning, there will be no clear direction for the other functions to follow. Okay, the third feature or characteristics of planning is all pervasive, meaning it's everywhere in an organization and applies to every manager at every level. So it doesn't matter if you are at the top of the company or managing a small team, everyone needs to plan. At the top level, for example, executives, yung mga CEO or directors, ano yung focus nila? Focus sila sa strategic planning. Where in fact, ito yung, if you could still recall, like yung ating hierarchy or levels of management, yun yung type of plans na ginagawa ng mga CEOs or directors, strategic plan. Ito yung mga long-term goals that affect the entire organization. For example, they might plan to expand in a new market or develop a new product. In the middle management naman, middle level, department heads or managers focus on tactical plan. Later on, we will be discussing what is tactical plan. But middle managers, they will take the broader goals set by the top management, the CEO, the directors, and create specific plans to achieve them within their departments. And then, yung pinaka lower level dun sa ating hierarchy or level of management, yung mga supervisors or team leaders, ang focus naman nila is operational planning. So they plan the day-to-day activities that keep their teams on track. So this shows that planning is not just limited to senior leaders. Ibig sabihin, every manager, regardless kung anong level yan, has to engage in planning to ensure that their area of responsibility is aligned with the organization's objectives. Okay, that's the third feature. Now, let's proceed to the fourth. Planning promotes innovative ideas because it's not just a routine task. Diba? It involves thinking ahead, solving problems, and finding better ways to achieve your goals. Kasi pinag-usapan natin kanina na ang planning ay intellectual process. Since planning is an intellectual process, it encourages managers to come up with a new and creative solutions. Planning gives room for innovation because it will challenge managers to think critically and find better methods to achieve objectives. The fifth feature of planning facilitates decision making by providing managers with clear goals and a framework for making choices. So, when we have a goal that are set in advance and predictions about future are made, it will become easier for managers to evaluate options and choose the best course of action. So planning helps managers make better and a more structured decisions. So hindi na sila manghuhula, ito ba gagawin natin, ano bang susunod. So with plan, they could make informed and confident decisions that align with the organization's objectives. Sixth feature, planning establishes the standard for controlling. So, ibig sabihin, planning will help managers track progress and make corrections to stay on target. Diba? Doon sa planning, we set the goals and expectations and also the controlling measures that actual performance should meet those expectations. So, in the controlling process, managers will now compare what was planned with what is actually happening. So if there are difference between the two, DJ current situation, can DJ plan da, tapos makita dang handa nga ma-hit the targets dan, they will investigate why it happened and take steps to fix it. Let's say for example, if a company planned to produce 1,000 units of a product, but only managed to produce 800. So managers would need now to figure out why they fell short and take corrective action. And then maybe they will need to improve their production efficiency or fix some supply chain issue. So with that example, planning gives managers a benchmark to measure performance and make necessary adjustments or correction. Next, the last feature, number 7, planning focuses attention on the objectives of the company, which means that everything that is being done during the planning process is aimed at achieving the company's goals. So when a company plans, it sets objectives, and then they will create policies, procedures, methods that will help reach those objectives. Let's say, for example, if a company's objective is to expand internationally, the planning process will create strategies and rules to support that goal, like developing partnership in new countries or developing or allocating resources for marketing abroad. So in other words, planning keeps everyone focused on what the company is trying to achieve and ensures that all efforts are directed toward reaching those objectives. Okay? So those are the features, nature, and characteristics of planning. Okay? So now let's proceed to the elements of planning. So, planning has two main elements, goals and plans. So, ano ba itong mga goals and plans na to? Okay, so let's differentiate this one. So, ano ba ang goal? Ano ang plan? So, the two key elements of planning are goal and plans. They are like the foundation of the entire planning process. So, when you plan, there must be, or when you conduct planning, there is a goal and there is a plan to achieve that goal. So what is a goal? A goal is a desired future outcome that the organization wants to achieve. Let's say, for example, a company might set a goal to become top-selling brand in their industry within 5 years. So goals give directions and purpose to all of the planning efforts. A plan, on the other hand, is the blueprint for how to achieve that goal. So it includes now here all of the necessary steps, resource allocation, schedules, tasks that will help the organization reach its goal. So if the goal is to become the top-selling brand, the plan would detail now mga marketing strategies, budget allocation, production schedules, human resources efforts, and so on and so forth. So, goals and plans work together but focus on different things. Goals specify future ends. Ibig sabihin, goals are focused on the final outcomes that we want to achieve in the future. For example, yung a goal might be to increase sales by 15% by the end of the year. The goal tells us what the result should be. Plans specify today's means. Ibig sabihin, plans are about actions that we take today to achieve that goal. So a plan could include now steps like launching a marketing campaign or hiring more salespeople. So the plan tells us how we will reach the goal. In short, goals are about where we want to go, and plans are about how we'll get there. Alright, so nakuha natin yung difference ng goal at saka plan. Okay, so in this slide, yung sinasabi ko kanina, that planning brings together two key ideas, yung setting goals and deciding how to achieve them. Okay, yan yung nakalagay sa ating slide. First, managers will determine the organization's goals, what they want to accomplish, what they want to achieve. Then, they figure out the means to achieve those goals, which is the plan. How will they get there? Okay? So, planning is about looking at both the destination, which is the goal, and the path, which is the plan to get there. Okay? So, to summarize it, to conclude, what we've learned about these two essential elements of planning. So goals and objectives are desired outcomes for individuals, teams, or the entire organization. So they give us direction and help us evaluate performance. Plans are the documents that outline how these goals will be achieved. They also describe how resources will be used and set up the schedules needed to accomplish this goal. So, to be effective managers, planning must always have two parts. Number one, you must have a clear goals that give us the direction and a detailed plans that shows us how to get there. So as a manager, when manager plans, they are developing both goals and plans. It's not enough that you just know where you want to go. You also need a roadmap to get there. Managers set goals to give their teams direction and purpose, and they also create plans to outline the needed steps to reach those goals. So by doing both, managers can guide the organization towards success, ensuring that every decision and action is aligned with their objectives. Right? So always remember yung sinasabi ko kanina na planning, hindi lang ito about thinking ahead, but it's also about making sure that every goal is paired with a solid plan, actionable steps that you can do to achieve yung goal na yan. Alright? Okay. So, punta naman tayo ngayon dito sa types of goals. Types of goals. So, usually, there are two main types of goals that companies usually set. Meron silang financial goals, meron silang strategic goals. Financial goals focus on financial performance of the organization. So, yung mga objective dito are example, increasing revenue, cutting costs, boosting profits, so on and so forth. Basta pinag-uusapan dito mga pera. Okay. Number 2, strategic goals naman. These are broader and relate to other areas of organization's performance na hindi na lang siya pang finances. Strategic goals might focus on expanding into new markets, improving customer satisfaction, developing new products, and the like. So, while financial goals focus on numbers, strategic goals are about the bigger picture, helping the company grow in areas beyond finances. So, both type of goals are crucial because they give the company a balanced approach to improve its overall performance. Next, types of goals is the stated goals and real goals. So, both of these goals can exist also within the organization. When we say stated goals, these are the official statements of what the organization says its goals are. So these goals are typically shared with the public and stakeholders to project a positive image or to align with the company values. Most of the time, these are written in the annual reports, public relation releases, or even yung mga speeches made by top executives. In fact, nakalagay pa yun digito'y kadigijay website digito'y vision, mission, goals and objectives, di ba? Yun yung mga stated goals. The real goals naman is, these are goals that actually, or that the organization actually pursues based on its actions. Sometimes, these real goals are different from the stated goals. For example, while the company might publicly claim to, prioritize sustainability, nakalagay dun sa kanilang website, dun sa kanilang mga accomplishment reports, annual reports, pero yung real goal nila might be to maximize profits by cutting costs, even it means that i-compromise nila yung mga environmental efforts, di ba? Minsan may mga ganyan. Pero actions speaks louder than words, yung sinasabi natin, di ba? And the real goals are reflected in what the organization truly prioritizes and acts upon. So it's important to recognize that there can be a gap between what is being said and what is actually done. So be aware of these differences. So goals are important because they set priorities for both managers and employees. So when an organization has clear goals, everyone knows what they need to focus on and what they should be working towards. So goals will guide the actions and decisions of employees, helping them stay aligned with the organization's overall objectives. More often, goals are set higher than expectations, diba? Challenging the organization to stretch and grow. That's why it is more important to have a clear and concise plan in place. Because if we have a goal, a well-defined plan becomes the roadmap that will help everyone stay on track and achieve those high expectations. Okay? So, in short, goals not only just give us direction, no, but also motivates people to aim higher and push for better results. Okay? Right, so that's the short introduction of the planning. Now, we're ready to proceed to types of plans. Types of plans.